All right, well, let's not get lost in the AOC abyss because when you look into that, it looks right back at you. So, what are we on to now? We talked about the Republicans' motivation for open borders, the Democrats' motivation for open borders. Before we go any further, actually, have you guys felt like this has been like a doctorate level class on politics in the past couple of years? Because I have never learned so much about the nature of political parties as seeing how much pushback that one man can get when he just comes to suggesting a simple wall. I've always been told that anytime that both parties agree on one thing, you need to be very aware and very alert. And this seems to be one of those events in history where everybody is united. There are different reasons, but all the same outcome. That no, we can't have this, but for different reasons. So this has been such an education since pretty much 2015 about politics in general.
Absolutely. I mean, like, Bush had 9/11. That gave him carte blanche to do whatever he want with full American support behind it. President Obama had his blackness.
The pencil.
And, I mean, let's be honest, he carried it into a second term. Not as much as the first term, but still to the point that most milquetoast people were too afraid to really speak up unless you were like...
Well, that's even something else is that you talk about, if you name drop those guys, I mean, them, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, there's footage of them, statements they've made that are far more direct and quote-unquote offensive in the current context in years past, not even that long ago, maybe a decade ago, saying this exact same thing. But it was relevant for the political climate at the time, but now, for whatever reason, it's just united against one man, in this situation, Trump, so it's just anything that he says, it's like they'll go against it because they believe that's politically beneficial.
I mean, you could insert as much audio from presidents as you want about border security, from Reagan to Clinton to Bush to Obama.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even he ran a big political campaign on illegal immigration.
Maybe it just comes down to the action itself. Like, actions speak louder than words, and that Trump has made every possible measure of achieving that. And so maybe it was just they were more comfortable in the sense that it sounded good, but there was nothing ever going to be done. And in this case, like, he's walking the walk as well as talking the talk. So,
yeah, I think that's a big part of it. This is the first time it actually feels like it's going to come to fruition. Mm-hmm. It's not just empty words. We might actually see some shit happen.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Raptor?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think that Donald Trump has tried to follow through with most of what he ran his campaign on, and anything and everything that he does is going to be misconstrued as evil by the media so that they can hopefully elect a Democratic
and
president in 2020.
What a field there is, too. Man, we got a real
we got Beto.
Yeah.
We got Beto on the scene.
Beta O'Rourke.
We got this tiny table
Soy
that
boy O'Rourke.
We're recording this on, and Beto O'Rourke was here. He'd be jumping straight.
He'd be standing on it.
It's so weird.
The only entertaining thing about him standing on the highest podium possible is I just can't wait for the day that he falls.
And just like dramatically kicks over whatever, like beverages or food or anything. But I think that he actually, a bigger subject here is, I think Beto O'Rourke has got himself some dangerous fangs. Maybe on Ocasio-Cortez level, even. Because that dude's got, he's like Dr. Underbite.
How long did it take him to get $6 million?
That was a day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's weird.
And how far are we out from the next presidential election?
And he's from Texas, mind you. Like, from what I was seeing, is that they were almost using that as a case study. Like that his what was that? It was for Senate for Texas, and so they were pushing for him for that. So it's strange that he loses the Senate race, but now they're like, okay, let's see if he'll win the president. Kind of thing. It was weird.
You failed the JV test. Let's just throw you into varsity right away.
That guy's so weird, man. He's like his whole.
He tries too hard.
He's the Gen Xer we were talking about. The Gen X politician where it's just like, was part of a hacker collective. Hacker, man. You see him scampering around Best Buy, just punching in some codes on some.
He thinks he's old enough to understand the boomers,
yeah.
Young enough to understand us millennials and
the
West. Gen Y.
What everyone understands is a grown man jumping up on a counter I don't even know how we got on the subject of him, but yeah, it's Texas. You know that if you want to see how open borders is working, look at how these counties are shifting, like on a very fluid basis, a yearly measurable basis in Texas.
What is it, a decade, 2 decades that Texas is going to be majority Hispanic?
And I'll tell you another thing: is this whole push to remove the electoral college. If Texas goes like the next couple of years, yeah, all of a sudden, I promise you that electoral college conversation will stop.
Folks,
I promise you that.
I cannot stress this enough. If the electoral college goes, elections will be decided by Texas, California, New York, and what? Florida? Is Florida another one of the big ones? Ohio's kind of split in the middle, really, but I do know it's New York, California, Texas.
Yeah, if it's all based on that's the other thing that kind of was a black pill was just that democracy is a sham because it sounds
we're not a democracy. That's the thing.
Well,
That's
I know,
another.
I'm just saying,
that's something else we need to get on.
I mean, even representation. It's like.
But speaking of representation, since we understand that corporate overlords, sound real edgy, overlords, they want cheap labor. Democrats want their votes, but both sides of the field agree on one thing, and that's the GDP.
Mm-hmm.
And what's been a big message pounded into our heads through the media through the last, 50, 60 years is divorce rates and the I culture, focus on yourself. We're basically like, stop having kids, stop getting married, live for what makes you happy. So American replacement levels are what? We're below replacement level at this point.
Well, this follows the same model that old Mama Merkel over there in Germany did, because
You mean motherless, childless Mama Merkel?
But yeah, so their replacement rate, that was her justification for it, was that they're not reproducing. So we have these Syrian, quote unquote Syrian refugees, and we'll bring them in because they are not of the same mindset as us. They are procreating at a rapid rate, and it's almost like, as Titus Jesus implied in the parable of the friendly caravan, that county that was coming up, they have a higher birth rate than yours, so that they don't share this same issue that our county shares, just like these refugees from Syria coming to Germany, or these Hispanics coming to America. The only people who are in danger of this sort of thing are these ethnically white races. And so we have a ready-made solution, and that is the ethnically non-white races who procreate on demand.
And you look at the DACA children, it's easier to reproduce at a 3-to-1 ratio when you're getting government assistance everywhere you turn.
No kidding.
Free college, free housing, food stamps, WIC, all of it.
You're right. That's the thing. I can't imagine it's almost a cultural thing. I mean, they talked about this where it was Vicente Fox, the old president of Mexico, had those billboards, had those advertisements along these border towns saying like, go to America, go to America because was it sustenance programs, like welfare? They were advertising that.
He wasn't just being complicit. He was pushing them out the door. Get out of here, you dirty.
His own people. But yeah, I mean that absolutely happened, and it's just far easier if you want to exhaust from your population like a group of individuals who are going to partake in this sort of a welfare class. It's like better somebody else's problem than your own. So you're going to do everything in your power to facilitate this exodus. I mean, this isn't just happening in South America. There's like around 500 state-sponsored organizations in China that do this whole anchor baby. You haven't heard that in a while, have you? The whole discussion about anchor babies, where it's like apparently it's unauthorized for like a woman at a certain state in her pregnancy to travel internationally. China's bypassed this by having these state-sponsored organizations that will facilitate these anchor babies coming over here. So it's just everyone, like we are the brunt of everyone's joke at this point, because like this whole statute that we had, that if you were born on this magic dirt that is America, that makes you an American citizen. But what is you guys' opinion on that very progressive idea that it doesn't matter how long you've been an American, you're just as American as everybody else. You could have been here today. Your family could have been here since Plymouth, Blessed Rock. For one, I can't get over the hypocrisy and the contradictions in the logic that we hear so often about what an awful hellhole this is. About how, this is the most racist, this is the most bigoted, this is the most awful country that has ever existed. This is the most racist, bigoted country that will ever exist. So we have so many things wrong with this. Do you know how many just crimes against humanity that occur all over the world, but we're insulated in this, this alleged hellhole, and yet there's still such a push that everybody should be allowed to come here. I feel like we're the only ones who are getting this representation of our own country, because just take a look at the news. These caravans, now it's not even onesies, twosies, it's just floodgates are open. Okay, these people are pouring over. Why would they want to come here? What do you guys think?
Dude, the world sees America as this bastion of
Give me your tired and your sick and your fat fatties.
oh, let's get on the Statue of Liberty later. But it's like, look, you're an American citizen from day one, the same as everybody else. I assume good old down home Americans listening to this, that you've played a sport. The freshman that walks on the field for his first day, no matter what team you are, he's not the same player as the senior captain. Let's be honest here. But look, politicians see us as a business. Citizens are a business. We're money makers. We're power makers. And you forget your past. You forget your identity. And then once you forget your identity, you'll be anything the powers that be want you to be. What about you, Raptor?
Yeah, so Carlos Spicy Wiener, I definitely agree with the valid points that you're making there. I don't have a qualm with people coming over from different countries and becoming U.S. citizens as long as they are able to understand, read, and write English. There's no issue with it on my end, but also you're incentivizing people to just have children on our soil and then run back to their country.
Are you saying they should have a certain amount of literacy?
Well, they should be able to read and write and speak the English language if they are U.S. citizens. That should be a requirement of U.S. citizenship.
I think we should sound out the word literacy. 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 Racist.
This is what's so funny, is if you go back, was it the Declaration of Independence where like that local news station was getting banned from Facebook because they were posting the Declaration of Independence like in its entirety, and it used the term savages to describe the Indians. So it's like now if you did that, you go back to the actual requirements and desired immigration pool. It was very straightforward, and clearly we've deviated from that, But
isn't savage a modern day compliment?
Dude, this is a savage podcast.
Sick, savage, epic, legend.
Yeah, dude. I don't see nothing but positive vibes coming out of the word.
Dude, we're
savage.
getting litty.
Yeah. So, all right. So yeah, GDP. That was something else that changed the way I looked at politics too, because I used to kind of be on that conservative idea that's like it's all about wealth and it's all about accumulating profits. The destruction that's left in the wake of that mentality is very terrifying, because at the end, this goes into the whole automation. Pretty soon, the only race that's going to matter is the steel race, because it's all going to be robotics. We are heading down that path very, very quickly, and that's only going to get amplified by these individuals who think only in the matter of GDP, because it shows how little they value human life, not even American human life, but just human life in general, when it's all about a profit margin.
What our value is in dollars per person,
I'd
per
say,
potential immigrant.
I'd say at least 36 cents.
36 cents?
Yeah.
Could be worse, I guess.